in Thought.
All right, let's get started. You may learn something.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to Black in Thought, where we take a look at current and cultural issues, applying that Afrocentric drip to them. Your hosts tonight are...
We got the Professor, Dale, JB, D, and me, Ill Will. So tonight's episode, we're going to dig deep. We're going to take it deep to the Black community. We're going to talk about the unique challenges faced by Black business owners. And what that kind of entails is, support and how we as a community support and, handle and grow our Black businesses. So we're going to dive deep, and I think this is going to be a real good one because we have several business owners here, and of course, in Black in Thought, they're Black. So let's get it started, gentlemen.
So what do you say when you go to a restaurant, Black owned, and you're the only customer, and it takes like 35 minutes to get your food? Oh, why is that? Now, we know why we stay away, but are we really looking at the reason why that happens when you walk in and, hey, I'm the only one here. I can go ahead and get that 5-piece fish, 2-piece chicken. I should be in and out. 30 minutes later, you're asking about your food. But they do give you a free Tahitian treat, though.
That's a Tahitian treat.
And pound cake for your time.
Treat, though.
For your time.
That makes sense.
Why is that?
I think a lot of times when we talking about Black businesses, white businesses, or just business in period, I think Black people sometimes have they have the idea, right? They have the idea of starting a restaurant in this case, but they don't have the experience to know how to operate it, so they're not prepared. Sometimes in the situation you're talking about, you're going to order some fish and some chicken, some fries, and I don't know anything about the restaurant business, but maybe they don't have the stuff set up. The grease may not be hot, the fish may not be unthawed, or whatever the case may be. So it end up taking them 30, 35 minutes to make something that should take 5. So I think a lot of times with Black businesses, we have great ideas, but sometimes we don't do the work. We don't do the work pre-hand to figure out how to
that made me go back to an article I saw, and it tripped my mind. The name of the article: 11 realities faced by Black-owned businesses. So we're gonna go through these 11 things. Hiding race, and I was like, hiding race, just so you can pull customers that aren't Black. I mean, that's crazy. After that was fear of being a sellout. Depending on what type of business that you have, will it apply to the Black community or Black people? Fractured finances, not having enough money to keep the business going, lack of consistent and unconditional support. At times, we have hard times continuing to support a business, especially a Black-owned business, when you feel you've been wrong, which we talked about that in the previous episode for forgiveness. Meeting unrealistic expectations, shooting too far for, the demographics, I guess, of the area that your business is in. Ignorance about effective business practices, not knowing how to conduct proper business. A lot of people aren't trained on, proper ways to invoice, knowing simple terms like net 30, 60, 90, things like that.
Can I jump in one quick second?
Hold on, let me get through them all first. All money ain't good money. Which you do have to realize at times, that is a very true statement. Questioning of product and service integrity, belief in value, competing instead of collaborating, and emulating stereotypes. What you got, JB?
Something that comes to mind for me, a lot of people, and this isn't just Black business, this is business period, people who are good at providing a service, or they're a craftsman, or they're a technician, or they know how to provide a service, and they have a good quality product, they just don't necessarily know how to run a business.
Yes, I agree.
So, it's like you may be good at something, but if you don't know how to market it, sell it, get your money,
the
back
had a
end.
customer service, all of those things that are part of a business. That's those pieces that struggle. So you talk about the waiting on the time, how long this is taking, this, that, and the first. There may, and a lot of times it's family-owned businesses. So you got your cousins involved, you got your nephew involved, your sister, your brother. So, all those dynamics come into play on these smaller businesses. Those are those are challenges for any business.
Yeah.
And let alone when you talk about, working capital and those types of things and having money to operate, it's definitely challenging. So it's tough for all small businesses. But it's even more tough for Black-owned businesses, especially when it comes to the working capital piece.
I think what we do is sometimes you can put your passion in, hey, I love to cook, I love to sew, whatever it may be. So you go out there, I'm gonna go do this and make this here. So you have a passion at sewing, but you have, like JB just said, you have no idea how to invoice or things like that. So I think all that is going to play where consumer wants that chicken you talked about, Professor. And like Dale said, your grease is not hot. You wait till that customer to come in, now you turn the grease on. Now you got 20 minutes for the grease to get hot. Then you got to drop the chicken, So I think it's the operation part of it. Sometimes too, I think as we struggle with is that you're a small business, so I guess my recommendation is that you're a small business, but don't think small.
Right.
Run your business like you're a corporation. Because if you run as a corporation, it'll be much more structured, and from the outside looking in, no one knows you're a small business or just a 1 or 2 man operation.
Yeah.
That's a good point, D.
Great point.
You run it like a corporation. But again, and I like the distinction that JB had between having a small business and having a Black business. Lack of resources. You can't get equipment, you can't get certain suppliers, you can't get a hold of certain things you need to run your business optimally. So that's why when you go to a Black business, they have a great idea, they have a great concept, they have a great product, but there's always that missing piece. So when they go to provide you that service,
many hurdles.
They had hurdles, they have to improvise. And you're like, man, I can't patronize. And don't think that they're not frustrated because they have everything vested into it. So they're one moment away from failing their dream.
But I would say seek out. I tell all businesses that the information is here, out there. The money is out there. There is people who can help you get from point A to point B. But sometimes we have to humble ourselves and ask for that help. We try to do it ourselves. This is my passion. I'm gonna make this work. Just say, hey, I don't know. I need help.
That's a big part of it. And something that I've looked at, when it comes to businesses and things like that is, credit is huge in the business world. And,
Leverage.
As far as Black folks, we don't start out with credit like
We don't.
a lot of these white businesses and others start out with because, from families that we've come from, in poverty and things like that, credit wasn't a priority. It was putting food on the table and providing for your kids. To where, in other circumstances, oh, Jimmy, you got to make sure your credit's good. We got to make sure you don't mess that up.
Hey, your white man voice is terrible.
I'm not, it wasn't supposed to be good.
But
That was Asian.
Asian named Jimmy.
Jimmy Woo. Jimmy Long.
as we know
Hung low fat.
in life, period, whether it's business or just personal, credit is leverage.
Yeah.
Like credit can allow you to do so many things, And we talking about a difference of 50 points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It can determine if you're going to pay, 7% or 0.9.
So how does a person? So this is the dilemma. What if a person has a great business model, and they have everything they need to start this business, but they don't have the credit? What resources are available?
You gotta get investors.
Right.
Investors,
Right.
man. That's it. Investors.
You gotta get
Right.
investors, and I think that as Black people, we talk about trying to invest, and that's where we can really put our money where our mouth is investing in Black businesses. Getting an investment club going in Black businesses and help these businesses get on their feet, and get some of that working capital in place. So I think it takes a lot of investment. So, and I also know, black banks, black credit unions, those types of things. I mean, I'm sure that those type of programs are out there. I don't own a business, but I know that those things exist. But
I would tell you, man, with black banks and black credit unions, they struggle. They struggle. Most of the time, they are located within their community, so they're looking to loan to the people who's within their community, which is us, who don't have the credit score. So they're loaning to us, but at the same time,
on the back end, they're probably taking it at an even higher rate.
There you
from
go.
Larger banks,
and then they're passing on. So nothing against them, but you got to remember, a black bank, a lot of your black banks, especially credit unions, they struggle.
It's a good point. Didn't think about it like that because, like you said, they're trying to survive, and then just for them to survive, dealing with another bank who's going to give them the higher interest rate just for them to do business with them.
To loan out money.
And that causes issues. And unfortunate, you have the unfortunate part, where you're continuing to give out money to your community, but then people aren't paying that money back, and loans are defaulting and things like that. So that gives them a harder time to being able to lend out and do more things when it comes to the community and that they serve. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So I think another thing too, as far as black businesses, is that some of the successful business owners can help bring up the new business owners. If you've been through it, it's a lot to know. And so as a new business owner, you may say, hey, do this, don't do that. Talk to this person, because we've been through those problems. So let me help another person not skip that hurdle, and therefore you are ahead.
Yeah, and I know we talked about that on the previous podcast as far as paying it forward, and maybe it's not with a loan. Maybe you don't have it to get a loan, but definitely information is just as good as knowledge is definitely good, just as good as money in some situations. So, I think that's another thing we can do as black businesses is definitely pay it forward to the up and coming.
Something else too, to make sure we was talking about. I think a mistake that they may have some make is trying to cater to the black people.
Knowing your audience, it's huge when it comes to.
But can you really survive your business, depending on what you're doing, just catering to black people?
It's not. I don't think it's necessarily catering to black people. I mean, if you understand your target audience, then it's not going to be just black people. Now, if it's in the black community, bad part about it is outsiders aren't going to readily come in because, of course, the stereotypical, I'm not going over there because it's that part of town and things like that. But, in those aspects, you have to branch out, and then, hopefully you can do online stuff. So, these same people who are on the outside who are afraid to actually walk into the brick and mortar, they can see your product online and buy it.
Well,
that's a good point.
I can answer D's question when he says that and it's about demographics, can you bring a product and have your own people patronize? The answer is yes. Because if you look at it, a lot of our communities are poor, but still they have access to Louis Vuitton, MCM, Nike, Jordan, Retro, et cetera, et cetera. We're not talking small money products. We're talking about high value money products, right? So we have our white product providers, and they're bringing in all these Foot Lockers and so on and so forth to our community, which typically is below poverty line. But still, again, out of the 15% of minorities who fuel the economy, 8% of that are blacks, right? But we can't get a fish spot or a cleaning service or a pest control service to be patronized by our own people. But when they bring in these Foot Lockers and these jewelry stores and these other type of products, man, they take off in our community. Why do you think that the Arabs bring stores to our community? Why do you think you have certain shoe stores in our community? Because they do profit from us. We're fools. We don't know how to prioritize.
Right,
we know how to spend, but we don't know how to save. We know how to labor, but we don't know how to own. So that's why they bring it to our community. Because we look at something, you know, you would think
consumers.
We're consumers.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what we just, again, it goes back to what we talked about, our mindset, and when we talk about Willie Lynch and the programming of our minds. You know, you can bring a Foot Locker in the hood, that's going to take off, but bring a restaurant or a laundromat, they're going to struggle because people will buy a pair of shoes before they do their own laundry.
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing that out as an example.
All right, like we've been saying, looks like we got a caller. We got Ed on the line. Ed, this is kind of what we've been talking about. Yeah, the unique challenges that Black business owners face, and kind of the stuff that we've talked about is funding, credit, things of that nature. If you can, kind of give us like a little bit of your background, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, my background. I work in the financial industry. I'm an internal auditor for a large bank in the area. My thoughts about supporting Black businesses, it's got to be something that is, my main thought is it's got to be something that's pushed by each and every Black person in our community and leaders in our community. It's something that we've got to take a bit more ownership of, the good and the bad, about the difficulties that Black businesses face. With financial issues as far as funding, and employees, as well as operational issues, things like that. We've got to really take a focus on it and try to pump more of our money into Black businesses.
I agree. It's about a lot of good points. Getting our leaders more involved. So when you say that, what does that look like?
I'm sorry. Could you say that again?
I said, when you say getting our leaders more involved, what does that look like?
To me, it's anybody could be a leader. If you're a leader of your household, if you're a leader in your community, the way a lot of inner cities work, it's the youth football coaches, you got the school teachers, the Black teachers, you got anybody who's in a prominent role in your community should make it a point to lead by example, as well as teach the people that are coming after them that it's important to spend your dollar with a Black business instead of spending it with a white business, even if at some point it may be a bit of an inconvenience, because I know we're all a bit spoiled being in the United States.
So you mentioned something about spending your money with the Black business versus the white business. Are you saying, like, when you say versus the white business, you're talking the big stores, little stores?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. My phone was breaking up again. I'm sorry.
When you say spend your money with the Black business, so you mean like, I agree with you, mean seek out Black business for your products or services, okay? You're talking about maybe cutting some of the big box stores?
Yeah, I would, for any products or services, I would, especially this day and age and what's going on in America at this time, we should take a focus and try to put our money into Black businesses, if at all possible, for any products and services that we use currently.
So let me ask you this. So, which I agree, we should do that. I agree supporting Black businesses. So, but if we stop supporting other businesses where Black people work at, and if that's going to affect them, so now you got Black people losing jobs because we're not supporting them. How do we balance that?
Not necessarily, because if you pump your money into Black businesses, those Black business owners are going to hire Black people. The white businesses, I work in basically in all the regulations and rules around this.
Okay.
So what these companies do is they take whatever the federal guideline is and say, we're going to make sure we meet this quota of minorities. And minorities doesn't mean Black people. Minorities means anybody that's not white, including women.
That is true.
So that it's not really helping black people. Yes, you're getting black people in certain positions, but there's always going to be a glass ceiling for the black people in those companies and those corporations. They're never going to let the black people truly be in charge of those companies because it's not for us. But the things that we are creating with these black businesses, if we pump money into those, they're going to in turn have enough business that they're going to need to hire more people. And who is a person more likely to hire? They're going to hire somebody that looks like them, somebody they can relate to.
See, I disagree. I as an entrepreneur, I hire the person that's best fit the job. Because just because you look like me,
and
if you can't, and I would love to hire you because you're black and we look alike. But if your credentials and you're not best for the job, I have to do what's best for the business. Otherwise, I'm putting that business at a disadvantage.
No, I'm not saying put your business in jeopardy because you want to just solely hire black people, but all of the major corporations in this country, in this local regional area, the major companies, who do you think those white guys are putting in charge?
But hear me out. But
They're putting their friends in charge. They're putting their family in charge. They're putting other white guys in charge. That's simply what it is.
But what I'm saying is, as a small black business, if you focus on just hiring black people, right? But if they're not
what
qualified,
kind of role are you putting them? You're not going to.
Who knows?
You're not going to make a random person your CFO. You're going to put them in an entry level position. But they're not good enough to do an entry level job.
You know what? Sometimes no. They're serious. Sometimes black, white, green person, they are not good enough to do an entry level. And I'm telling you from a business perspective, they're not good enough. Everybody is not good enough to do entry level. Don't think that.
So let me interject.
So they're not.
The thing I'm struggling with, and Ed, I agree with where you're going with this. The thing I'm struggling with is minorities fuel the economy. However, only make up 15% of owned businesses in America.
You said that.
Right? So the thing I'm struggling with is it's the reason why we don't support is because our lack of value system for our own, right? So everybody can say, well, we don't trust and customer service, so forth and so on. But the truth is we can go completely black owned. And if they're not qualified, we can create a training program to where they can become qualified. So the answers are there. The problem is we lack a value system for our own.
Exactly. Like it's a much deeper subject if you want to go into it. You go back to slavery.
It really is.
Slavery ends, and then you got Jim Crow and things of that nature. You got all of these regulations and rules that I literally spend my day learning and knowing about. And it's my job to know about, to make sure that the people in my financial institution are doing what they're supposed to do, so that the bank that I work for doesn't get fined. It's set up to make everything is set up in the financial industry to make it difficult for black people.
Yep.
It's we don't have the educational background to own the accounting world, but literally accounting is we have black people who are beginning to be more educated, but it's the whole language of accounting is just to make sure that people get mixed up. You learn the language, you know how to. It's simple as that.
That's it. Let me ask you, Ed. So basically, as a bank, look at your credentials on paper. When you go to them, hey, I want to get money, they're looking at you on paper. If your numbers and everything's intact on paper, do they give a damn if you black or white?
Of course they do.
You think so?
Of course they do.
So on paper, if your score, if your P&L all lines up, you mean they're going to care about giving you money and you got all the credentials?
They do. So
I will say this.
I have a story.
All right, go ahead.
So I have a very close friend. I have a very close friend of mine, and he and his business partner both have 800+ credit scores. They have it. When they were starting their joint venture together, they tried to get a credit line so that they could take care of their payroll instead of paying it out of their own personal pockets like they had to do for about 3 to 4 years. They continued to go from bank to bank to bank, and they would get told no. Until he had the conversation with his neighbor, who's a black man from Philly, hood dude, but he just so happens to be the regional manager of business lending for a bank. So he tells him the story, and he says, "Oh, I'm gonna call a guy. This will be done very soon for you. I got you." And then in a short matter of time, he has a $500,000 credit line to cover expenses for his business.
So,
But
so
for
let me.
all these years, once again, it's regulations. It's just like laws in America when it comes to police and things of that nature. There are so many things that it will say, yes, you can't discriminate based on gender, race, sex, how many children you have, anything like that, right? They can't make a decision based off that. But there's some other loophole that they are allowed to make the decision on that can get them out of being able to get in trouble for not giving you money because you're black.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll say this. I mean, I think it's when you talk about it, it's got to be hit from like anything, you got to hit it from different fronts. So I totally agree with we have to invest in our black businesses. We do. We have to empower them and strengthen them. But we also have to make sure that we are in those other corporations, because in this instance, that brother being in that corporation helped your friend get to what he needed to get to, so he can start his business and now he can pay it forward, to someone else. So it's going to take,
Team.
it's going to take us being in these corporations and doing the things that we need to do to support our black businesses, and as individuals investing in these black businesses on the other side too. It's going to take a lot of that.
Best thing I saw on a meme: if race doesn't matter, why is it on the application?
Right. Exactly.
Exactly.
So my thing is, why?
Exactly.
Why?
So you absolutely correct. Race does matter, and I know kind of what you were saying, Ed. That like I work in the banking industry too, so I definitely agree 100%. They always find loopholes to deny you, and it'd be the smallest thing. It'd be you had a late payment 10 years ago, so we're going to deny you, even though you got an 800 credit score now, but you had a late payment 10 years ago. But really, it's because you was a black man or a woman, and because they do that too. So it definitely is out there.
Again, my biggest thing is the plot is separation. Like JB said, we could get in these corporations, but since we fuel the economy, why can't we just put our own money together and make it happen? Why do we need the corporation? We can create our own banks. We fuel the economy.
Yeah, you can do that, but it's
knowledge.
But the other thing too is that can't happen instantly. It's a process. So
absolutely,
you got to leverage the positions that you have in corporate America right now to establish these black businesses so they can become corporations owned by blacks.
Right. Because I know we had a conversation off air. We were talking about a black credit union that it's hard for a black credit union to loan out, give a black business a good interest rate because they're getting charged a higher interest rate on the back end. So I get what you're saying. Why can't we just put our money in? But I know, like, thinking about going back, like the Tulsa and the Black Wall Street back then. That's what they did.
They did that.
But also they also started from somewhere. They had to go make that money. You had to make that money working for the white man.
Military money.
Yeah, you got to make that money and then have to come over and put that back into the black business. So we can't just, like JB said, it's not just wake up one day, let's put our money together and, buy a whole neighborhood.
It's a strategic plan that has to be put in place by us as a people
over time
to really hit it from all these different areas to create the most impact. Yeah. That's what I believe. And I think that investments in the black businesses is by our people will go a long way. Just to your point, Professor, where you talk about when we are consumer driven as a community. We're not investment driven. So, and I know that people don't have a lot of money to invest, but hey, if you do have money to buy, more leisure type things, maybe set 10%, 15% of that aside and invest it in the businesses that are in your community.
It's funny you said that, man. We offer a 401k, and you'd be surprised. We do like a 4% match. You'd be surprised that some of our people who won't take advantage of that 4% match, because
you got to be understanding to that.
I think that comes from the the knowledge. Like I'm giving you.
Yeah, one part of it is
free money.
Part of it is they don't have the education.
That's it.
They don't know about it. Mm-hmm. The second part of it is, what is their regular financial situation?
Yeah, they may need money. They may need money now.
They may not be able to afford that.
They may not though.
Paycheck or whatever it is. They can't do that. They don't have the money like that. So you gotta have understanding in that situation.
No, I agree. They may not. But if you look at it, when you explain to them, hey, this is pre-tax. So what you're putting in actually may save you paying less taxes. We still could put more money in your pocket. But once again, that's a whole nother education piece. We can go there later on.
Yeah, I think the educational piece of it, the paying it forward piece, the investment piece, leveraging relationships in corporate America, it's all part. I mean, you look at the individuals that had their platforms. Look at LeBron. Hey, he's taking his platform and his influence, and he's paying it forward. Mm-hmm. With a school. Now he's trying to register to vote. I mean, he's actually putting his money where his mouth is on things. So, and he's using that he had. And there's been other athletes who haven't used that platform, but he is, and he sees it. And I think that him coming from the area that he was in and the situation that he was in, and he was always the type of person that you said, man, that guy's got a great head on his shoulders. I mean, all the hype and everything else that he had to navigate through, it was him, his boys. His mother was on had substance abuse issues. So all these things was pointing to him to fail. Mm-hmm. He had God-given talent, but he still had a great mind to go along with that talent. And he's just leveraging his situation to become a $1 billion industry on his own.
But I think also, talking about LeBron, and one of the things we mentioned earlier in the episode was knowledge. He didn't walk in with that knowledge, but he learned from.
He seeked it.
Yeah, he did. He seeked
knowledge,
but he learned from the people that came before him and how they ran their businesses, not just athletes, but
that's
business.
with us, and that's what I always say all the time: go seek that knowledge, because the knowledge is out there. Don't be afraid to have. I've had people call me and say, "Hey." Let me back up. So I think sometimes as business owners, I think that one of two things. We are afraid to reach out to someone a veteran in our same industry and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I need some advice. Now, granted, I'm not saying you got to give me any proprietary information or anything like that, but believe it or not, a lot of us are willing to help each other. Or on the second half, if we say, hey, I'm making A sandwich and you're making B.A. sandwich, I look at you as you're my competitor, but you're not my enemy. So sometimes I think we look at each other as enemies instead of just, hey, we are competitors. We can still help each other.
Yeah. So in that, right? So how do we deal with this attitude then? So switch gears just a little bit. The attitude of, okay, I've been shopping and doing business with this black business for a while. Mm-hmm. And then there's that moment I receive piss poor customer service. Now, up until then, customer service has been fine. I've never had any issues. But now at this one moment, I've had this piss poor experience, and now I do not want to go back to this business.
I think that's terrible.
I think it's terrible. I think what we have to do as people is
grace,
absolutely, and also let the management of that particular establishment know. And like I said, if McDonald's mess up on something, we damn sure writing in a complaint, getting on the website, writing in a complaint, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? So if that happened at a black business, I would say, give them grace, and also just talk to the management, let them know about your experience, and hopefully they take that as a learning tool, and not that you're trying to downplay their business, but take it as a learning tool and improve their business.
I had a friend today said here locally he went to go support a black business, up in Dublin. So we was talking, say, that customer service, the experience, it was all wonderful. He said the food wasn't that good. He said, but I'ma still give him a good review. And I said to him, I said, you know what, honestly, give your honest review. Because if you just, this was great, and people start going here, eventually he's going to start getting negative reviews because you're not being honest. So if you can give an honest review, hey, experience was great, customer service was great, the view was great, maybe for me, the food wasn't seasoned enough. I would have liked to see the food a little more seasoned. And maybe 10, 20 more people will feel the same way, and he can change and become more successful.
Criticism.
Constructive.
Destructive.
Yes. That was it.
Yes.
That was it. Because I think
Constructive
if you give a great, 5-star this here, everything's great, and then you start getting more people to go there, eventually it's going to become negative criticism. Where if you can say, hey, this was great, in my opinion, this could have been better, 4 stars, and move on.
That's a good point.
Don't lie.
I agree to an extent, but I disagree with both of your guys' points too, mostly. The McDonald's example, you're not going to write a letter in. You're going to go right back to that same damn McDonald's and order the same thing the next time, and just hope that they don't mess it up again.
You are correct.
You're going to hope they don't make you wait. You're going to hope they don't mess it up. You're not going to do anything but keep going back to it. Then when it comes to the reviews, you got, as Black people as well, you got to sort of adjust that thought to my point of view, because yes, you give them a solid review. I'm not saying you got to be over the top and lie and say all kind of craziness, how great it was, but you don't do that to other businesses. You don't do that if you go out to a chain restaurant, they mess up your order, or there's something wrong with it. You're not going to do that to them, but you'll do that to the Black business.
But remember, if you're constructive, that's going to help you grow and get better. But if someone just says,
then why make a review? Why make a review instead of going and talk to that person and tell them, hey, this is what could have been better personally.
True.
That's true too.
That is a very good point.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But as also the business have to be receptive of that too. Though.
Well, I think honestly, to Ed's point, we're talking about small businesses. I mean, they don't have some big corporation where they're sitting in New York City where they're receiving all kinds of customer service complaints. The guy's standing right there. You know what I mean?
But hear me out. Small businesses rely. Let me tell y'all, online reviews
are
is
huge.
Everything. I'm telling you,
because those search words when you type in for whatever you're looking for into Google, and if you have horrible reviews or you have fantastic reviews, those are the ones that's going to come up because people are saying the most, and those are the things that people are looking for. So those reviews truly are huge. Like, I'll give you a prime example of why reviews are huge. I just recently stayed at an Airbnb. Now, the house and all the pictures of the Airbnb, fucking gorgeous, fantastic. Get to the Airbnb, half
Motel
of it's
6
shit. And so, several maintenance issues and things of the nature. So when I talked to the management of the Airbnb, their biggest thing was like, okay, well, how do we fix this? So I was like, I need at least half my money back.
Right.
And so they was like, well, let's talk to I'll talk to the owner and see what we can do. And I'm sorry, all right, do what you do. And so then they came back to me and said, this was their exact words, the owner is worried about what kind of review are you going to give his property. I said, you know what? I don't usually do this, but to buy my review, I need about 75% back.
That's right. Since we negotiate now,
like a Negro.
So that just proves the point why reviews. I
huge.
mean, as D said, reviews are huge. They cared more enough about that review than to lose the money that I paid for that stay.
I would tell y'all, I've took losses sometimes because one negative review can overshadow 20 positive reviews.
Absolutely, yeah.
Easy.
I mean, that's just the society we live in.
As a small business, reviews are huge. I mean, reviews is dollar signs.
Because,
I'm telling you,
with a negative experience, they're going to tell more people about the negative experience.
You just said a few minutes ago. He just said a few minutes ago that he wanted to give a Black business a bad review.
It wasn't that he wanted to give. He said
it wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
Give
It wasn't bad.
constructive criticism.
As a business owner.
It wasn't bad.
He said
It wasn't
give him
bad.
a constructive review.
I said constructive. I received constructive. How can I get better?
Do that though for black businesses.
No,
Because,
let me tell you
look,
something.
man,
You have to. I'm trying to tell you. Reviews is dollar signs. These black businesses, the money they spend to be online, you wouldn't believe it.
I would say, maybe you spoke to a great point. Why not go talk to that guy? Now, if you still have a bad experience after you talk to the management or you talk to the owner, then, at that point, then you set yourself up for that failure and you're going to get the review that you're going to get. But I do agree. How about we go inside and talk to these people instead of just if we have something negative in that experience and just going straight online to want to post it. Just like you said, go talk to them.
I think you do both. I think that you give a how do I say this? In leadership, sometimes it's like you praise externally but rip their ass internally. It's kind of thing. So that's the kind of approach I think that we need to take.
Yeah, if it's great,
one on one, talk, be constructive or whatever. Externally, praise it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so great business. Everything was great. Food was great. Service was great. Make sure you post that, experience online. You have a negative experience with the business, take that internally and talk with the management, talk with the owner, and things like that.
I agree.
But okay, with that same right,
But
go ahead.
Well, being completely, I just want to. I got a question for you guys. Just being completely honest, how many reviews have y'all done in the past 6 months?
Zero.
Zero. I've done quite a few.
I'm not a review person, so I typically go talk to people about stuff.
I don't go anywhere. So.
I've done about 4. And I've done about 4.
And where I go, they don't got websites.
And I
They don't got no will.
and when I give it,
There's no online presence.
they ain't got nothing online.
You can't find me.
That's right.
So Ed, to answer your question, I've done about 4 reviews in the last 6 months. And when I give feedback, it's not only constructive, but it's transformative because it gives the person who runs the business information on how to make their business better. You can tell a person, hey, listen, the food was not cold, but you can say, hey, listen, maybe if you made it to order, you can keep it fresh. So constructive and transformative feedback.
I would tell you, as a business owner, I deal with reviews a lot. When I say a lot, when people call my office, they say, hey, we ask every caller, how'd you hear about us? I track every means of marketing there is. Oh, you were here, you were the top rated. I went here, you were recommended. I went
shows
here.
Where to spend your money for advertising.
Therefore, I know where to put my dollars at. So reviews are huge. I read them. I look at them. If I see a negative review, I'm going to reach out to that customer. We're going to fix it. I'm going to ask them to go back and adjust that review so it is a 5-star and not a 4-star.
Yeah, I think that speaks to that marketing piece, though, too.
It does, man.
When we talk about, all the facets that are involved in running a business, that's part of it. You got to be able to sell, and you got to know who the audience is, and got to be able to market yourself. So that those reviews do play a part in that.
Reviews drive your business.
It does play. The marketing part plays a part in it, but my problem with our community is that a lot of times we don't choose to understand people. We treat them as if they are white corporations and white small businesses that have been around from generation and generation, have been passed around from father to son, son to daughter, all these things of that nature. And in those situations with those white companies, they've got the infrastructure set up. They've got the financials backing them. They've got a cookie cutter thing that grandpa started a long time ago. But when it comes to us and we have somebody who has some great God-given talent or has some passion that they're trying to execute, we give them an extremely hard time when they're probably the first person in their family to start the business.
Passion doesn't always equals a good business.
That's true, but I agree with what Ed's saying. You got to understand and you got to be more of an aware consumer of how your dollars are being utilized. You know what I mean? So, and what are you really trying to get out of it? What service are you really trying to get? Case in point, you can have a landscaping service. Yeah, I'm the guy may not have done the landscaping to the T that some other white business would have done. However, is it 90% there? And that if you stay with this guy, that you can have him tailor it to what you like, and over that time, he can start to build a clientele, and you can tell him how to coach him on how he needs to build his business. Those types of things can help.
Okay, so let me switch it up. So, do y'all feel that if I have a current service, small business, local, I should seek? Say I've been with this service for 10 years. We have a good rapport. Everything's great. I'm happy. Should I seek out to leave my current lawn care, for instance? Should I seek out to leave my current lawn care? My grass is great. It's green. It's healthy. I'm very happy. To go to a black business?
No. What I do think you need to do is I think that you need to try to diversify. Diversify the services that you are, requesting of that business that you already had. So if they're taking care of 7 things on your lawn, give the black business an opportunity to do one of the 7 and see how they perform.
See, I'll tell you this. So as a business owner, if I have a client, I may perform 4 services there. My goal is to perform as many services at that one property as possible. Why? Because that's more revenue for me.
I get that,
and I'm building a rapport. I got one that customer is dealing with one as a consumer. I'm dealing with one person.
But as a consumer, you have the buying power, so you need to set your own market. So if you start buying different parts and pieces of it at a better buy, you create more competition, and you also give this other guy a shot.
I agree. So here's my opinion. I'm all for, hey, I need a driveway. Let me reach out to a black-owned, this local company. He may be white, black, green, purple. I don't know. And let me see what the price is, the customer service, all that stuff. But I really struggle, y'all, with I have a service right now. I'm 100% happy with it. Things are going well. It's been 10+ years. If it ain't broke, why would I change it?
It's with that mentality. But listen.
Hey, tell me about it.
I'll jump on this.
Please do. I'm a black business owner.
I get it.
I'm being honest.
The problem is that when you don't reach out to other businesses, the other businesses don't have a shot. They don't have a shot. So,
but 10 years ago, I didn't reach out. Right? No, nobody reached out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I personally, to answer your question, if I was in that situation where I had a person not black taking care of my lawn for 10 years, I wouldn't just cut him off.
Okay.
To go get a black owned business. Because like I said, this guy's been taking care of my grass. I haven't had no complaints.
You have rapport.
A rapport, yeah. And I haven't had no complaints, no issues, nothing.
Did you say repair?
I said rapport.
Yeah, it's okay.
He's not report.
He said rapport. It came out a little funny, but it said rapport.
That shit said
repair. He actually looked in his mouth. But to answer your question, I absolutely wouldn't in that case. But like I said, to your second example, when you're talking about looking for a driveway.
Yes.
Now, if I'm looking for a driveway, that's not something I already have.
Yes.
Then I will shop around. I will give a black business a chance to come out and give me an estimate.
Yes.
And as far as just like anybody else, I have them come out and give me a few estimates. Now, if the black business estimate is, 1 or 2% higher than the white business was, I'll probably still go with the black business off the fact that he's black.
So here's my question. So outside of names, and if they're not easily recognizable, how do you know it's a black business? I'll give you an example. So the person who used to redo the asphalt on my driveway, black business, father and son, been doing it for forever. I was on a 3-year track with this company. So the father, he was ready to hang it up. He's been doing it for years on top of years, and he wanted to give the company to his son and have him keep going. So first year that son is taking over, I get no phone call. I get nothing. And I do this, every year to get my driveway re-asphalted. So, at that point, now you leave a sour taste in my mouth. Now, I'm not saying a sour taste against black people, but you know how hard we are on each other. It's like, damn, I go to the black dude and this is how I get done. And then, so then I go to look for another business. It just don't say, hey, we're a black owned asphalt company. And that's not even a very common thing. I've found very few black asphalt companies that, can repave that. So, in that type of situation, yeah, there's a little bit of scoring because I was like, damn, I went to some black folks and this is how I got done. So, I mean, it's going to take some grace and forgiveness to get over that part. And, but I know I should not be like, hey, I just gave these dudes an opportunity. But then again, like, how do you seek out, is there a reputable way to find out what is another black business? Because it's just not advertised as black when you're doing it like that.
In our local area, there are a bunch of websites, columbusblack.com, which it literally gives you a listing of any kind of service or good that you may be looking for that is owned by a black person.
Say it again.
In these situations, the problem I have, columbusblack.com.
I tell you no,
the problem I have in these situations. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, brother.
The problem I really have with us being so quick to dismiss the black company because of a quick bad experience is that, well, how are we going to be able to hold them accountable? My thing is, if my whole thought process is also going back to Dee's talk about the 10-year person. Why are you 10 years in with this white person, and then just now is there a thought to bring on a black person? Why wasn't that an initial thought 10 years ago?
It's not a thought.
Because what's that?
He said it wouldn't be a thought. He's going to stay with his 10-year person. He's not going to change.
Yeah, it wasn't a thought. That's what I mean. It's not a thought for us as black people, but the Latino community, Asian community, the other white
that's what they look out for first.
That's their culture.
That's their first. Well, that's what we're talking about.
But think about.
But also,
I'm gonna go years back with black businesses. Go ahead. Ed.
Let me make my point real quick though. It's just my point is simply that they have created a culture that they're going to look out for their own, and also in that culture they are going to hold the people who aren't upholding the standard accountable because there's so much money from their own group going into them. So if we do take the process and begin the process of putting here and there, put more money into black businesses as we continue as the best we can. Because I'm not saying, hey, stop everything you're doing and go to only black businesses. But little by little, if you can start peeling it off and putting it into black businesses, then it becomes we're a culture, we're a community that's together and united, and we can hold the bad apples accountable. So then we know that it's easy to go find out, okay, all right, well, this black man and his asphalt company, he's not running it right. But my man's over here, he's got all the great ratings. Everybody loves him in our community. I'm going to give it to this other black man over here.
I mean, a prime example of that, the previous house that I held, I had some garage issues. Yeah. And I actually found, he was driving around and on his truck, he has a picture. It's a black man fixing garage doors. So I was like, bet. If I ever need a garage door, I remembered that. I remembered the name, and so I looked it up. So at my last house, had him come fix a garage door for me. And, it was a positive experience, great experience. So, of course, at the house I'm at now, had some garage issues. And most definitely, he was the first person I looked up. I forgot the name of his business, but, I went searching for I couldn't remember the whole name, but I could only remember a piece of it. So, of course, I'm putting in the search engine, just that piece and looking for that person. So, we do those things to look for, especially if we have a good experience. I just can't say, if we have a bad experience, we're ready to be incognito with it and move on.
Yeah, I'm listening to all this, and I think there's two elements that we're missing. JB brought up one, I think I brought the other. The two things that we're missing is education and resources. You have one job when you have a business, that's to deliver, right? So your mission statement is always centered around your services and the quality of your services. So when you create a mission statement, which Ed, I know you're familiar with, your job is to deliver that mission, right? So with that being said, without education, without resources, you can't deliver. Instead, we jump into businesses we know nothing about. We have no backing. We have no education. So now we have all these ideas that are just all over the place, right? It's like having a bunch of marbles thrown on the sidewalk.
And it creates a frustrating experience.
Right, because you have the idea, you just don't have the parameter and the infrastructure or the support to piece it all together. But I would think, as far as our community, anyone interested in having a business, I think we should embrace them, but we should also educate them and provide them with resources so they can be successful. And I think that's the foundation of everything.
Yes. Resources need to be given to the people in our community. I'll go back to the same point of it's for me, it's an understanding thing, because I know people I've had to in my close friend group, my family, where they will just flat out just shit on a black company, to say it in the least amount of words, when they have any kind of black experience. But they're gonna still patronize the hair shop with the Asians that don't give a hoot about them, that talk crazy about them every day. They're still gonna go to the nail shop that disrespects them every day. They're gonna still go to the chain restaurant or the local spot that still disrespects them every single day, instead of giving another black person a chance, because they're gonna just say, "Hey, I had this one bad experience with this black company, and I'm not gonna patronize them any other time."
Yeah.
And we just let it go. And it's got to be a process. It's still education and resources and such. It's just still a process to say, hey, even if they do make this mistake, I'm not going to put that on all black people, because we'll do that and we'll say, hey, one black company did me wrong, all black people companies, I'm good.
Yeah, we got to give them grace.
You guys are a couple black business owners. I feel like you guys should actually feel a little bit more in tune with that, because you've probably lost business due to you guys just being black, and you guys have lost revenue just for being black men.
I will also tell you, I have had people seek me out that said they went with me because I was black, and that's from black and white people.
Now that's different.
You can give one-off examples of white people doing
it. Ain't just one.
Just one. That doesn't change our society, bro.
It does. I agree. I agree.
All the rules are not made for us. I
agree.
Once again, what I do every day, the rules are not made for you. They are not made for me. They are not made for any of us.
So we got to change those rules, right?
And the problem that our society has with that is that even though the rules are not made for us and the rules aren't made for them, and the rules are made for them, the problem is we continue to overcome as black people. So they continue to just try to, okay, they beat this. It's like a game, like equality. They beat this level. Okay, let me throw another challenge at them. All right, they beat that level. Let me give them another thing that's even worse. So it's something that it's a wicked system that we live in.
But the more we educate ourselves, the more we keep overcoming the challenges, and the more equal of a playing field it becomes.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. But you, as a black business owner that's been doing this, and you've been in your industry how long, D? How long have you been in your industry?
Over 23 years.
How many black people in your industry have you helped?
You mean as far as like, what do you mean by that?
Like help them? They're the new guy on the block. They're trying to learn this industry. How many black people in your industry have you helped?
There's not many. There's not many.
Well, those few that you helped.
One of the youngest in my industry. Yeah, so my industry is not one of those industries where everybody wants to do. I'm like a yuck industry.
So why not create? Why not create a program? Why not create a program to educate people on your industry, people on your industry, so then maybe they take an interest in.
Tell you, let me ask you. I've tried. So I'm probably 9% black employees. Is who's part of my team. But when they come, you mentioned younger people. I've tried to hire them. I've tried to have interns.
Oh, not that. Like there are resources. You mentioned Urban League and other things like that. Why not go to the Urban League and say, hey, I want to do this, because they have their hands in all kind of.
So here's the thing. So why not? You have to remember when we go back 23 years ago. That was a time where it was a lot of laborers. Okay, right now, people are not laborers is not the job to have. Okay,
I'll
I'm
attest
telling you
to that.
right now, man.
Being in
It's just not.
being in the construction industry is extremely hard to find highly qualified, skilled,
or anybody who wants to
laborers.
do what you do.
People do not want to work with their hands.
Yeah,
People do not want to, break their backs to do much work. It's just not the same environment that it was 20, 30 years ago.
Society. That's part of society.
It is.
Society
It
has
is.
moved more,
And
our
I can't
economy
change
has
that.
moved more toward
Service,
robotics and
service oriented.
to replace the handiwork.
Desk. No, I'm talking to people who they want to sit down at a desk. They don't want to get their hands dirty. So it's kind of hard to mentor someone and help them out when there's no. I have a son.
To me, that sounds like
I have a son. I have a son who's a black man that's 21.
The reason that sounds like an excuse.
No. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Yeah, I have a
You
son.
mentioned earlier that. Okay.
I have a son. He's
you
21,
mentioned
right?
earlier-
Have a son 21. I have a brother who's 24. Neither one of them has no interest of doing what I do. So I can't even teach my own son to take over what I have or my brother because they have no interest. That's the society we are dealing with right now. It's not glamorous.
That's still not an excuse to help other people.
It's a truth.
Because you don't know, there are kids that may be coming up and growing up that have an interest. They have interest in that. So they just may not have. They may be a kid in the hood who has no resources, but possibly you reaching out through the Urban League could spark some kid to say, "Hey, I want to learn about this and I want to do this because I have an interest in this." Like, to me, it's just what black people do. Like, the reason I'm not trying to be so hard on you, but it's what we do as a people when we get asked those direct questions. Why aren't you doing more? We make an excuse. Oh, society's changing. Well, it's not changing that bad because you still got a thriving business. You still take care of your family. You still live a really good life. So obviously, it's not that bad.
On that note,
but we could simply
we have run out of
reach out to
time.
the other people.
And
All right.
so here's the idea to leave you black in thought. When you choose a black-owned business over problematic companies, you vote with your dollar by divesting, also diversifying from these kind of practices and hold companies accountable. Remember, your black-owned business helps support the communities that support you. So why not reach out?
DJ Payne 1.
You know I'm flawed, but you love me anyway. A lot of times I'm so wrong, but you love me anyway. Love me anyway. That's why you're my buddy.
Thank you for listening to this episode, and we want you to come back for more. If you like what you heard, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. We're on all the major networks: Apple, Google, TuneIn, Spotify, and many more. Check out our social media, and please like, follow, and comment on Facebook, Black in Thought, Instagram, Black in Thought Podcast, and Twitter, Black in Thought Podcast. Please subscribe, share, and once again, thank you for listening.
You know I'm flawed, but you love me anyway. A lot of times I'm so wrong, but you love me anyway. That's why you're mine.